Hey everybody. So sorry, it's kind of shaky. I'm sitting on my bed in my hotel. Um, Rough day at work today. It was really hot. My back hurts like crazy. And for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know I got pretty injured about a month and a half. Well, 3 months ago. I got injured pretty badly, and I was basically out of commission for a month and a half. I sat in my hotel room for 5 days and could barely walk. And my youngest son works for an airline. He's like, Dad, I can get you a flight home cheap. I was trying to hold out because usually when I hurt myself like that, it's 2 or 3 days, no problem. I ended up being off for almost 7 weeks, had an MRI, and I had 5 herniated discs. In the past, it's been one. So I think it's just a combination of age, overworking. I say this all the time, not as a brag, because trust me, it's not a brag. I work way too many hours when I'm on the road. I just want to get home, so I work every single day. And the last stretch was 25 straight days, 9, 10, 11 hours a day. And it's just too much for this old body. I gotta figure out a way. So one of the things I'm turning to is doing my YouTube and my TikTok stuff. And so I can talk myself into quitting a little bit earlier because I'm like, well, I need to go make this video. And with the service I have around here, the cell phone service is so bad, I can't upload anything. I have to go over to the Home Depot that's not very far from here and use their Wi-Fi. So I probably will not get this video uploaded tonight. I'm just too wiped out. But I did the video last night, kind of a deep video about Mormonism and stuff. And even though I do enjoy talking about that and I really enjoy all the comments, I like talking about other things too. Today, I don't know why. So most of the day, I listen to podcasts. I listen to, all kinds of different things. Like right now, I've got YouTube on my TV. I'm signed into my hotel TV, and I'm watching Jan Jinten. A lot of you would probably say Jonna Jinten. She's from Sweden. I really like her, the way she films things and the scenery around her house. Reminds me a little bit of Norway, although Sweden's way flatter than Norway. Lots of hills, but not really a lot of mountains like Norway has. But she's got a knack for filming, and she's got, I don't know, that it factor that just makes you kind of interested in watching. But I was thinking about, YouTube and doing this kind of stuff and telling stories, which I'm still working on that World War II story. I keep putting it off just because I want to feel like I'm really ready to tell it. But when I'm not listening to podcasts, which is most of the day, I'll put music on. I like a lot of types of music. I like yacht rock music and classic rock and country, both old and new. And when I say old, I'm talking, 80s, 90s, maybe some 70s. Before that, a little too twangy for me, even though I was kind of raised on that. My dad was a big Eddie Arnold, Charlie Pride, Jim Reeves fan, Hank Williams Sr. But I like all kinds of music. Classic rock, 80s, that's kind of my wheelhouse. But when I went through my divorce in 1994, I kind of got into country music just because I wanted to change. So anyway, when I'm listening to music, my mind wanders. I don't know if you've found that if you're listening to a podcast, you're focused on what you're listening to and you're really paying attention, and your mind is, honed in on that. When I listen to music, my mind wanders. And today, this was kind of, oh, by the way, välkommen tillbaka, tack för sist. Today was kind of cool. So my mind wandered back to my childhood. And when I'm talking about my childhood, let's say between the age of 10 and like 15, when I was old enough to do stuff. I wasn't old enough to drive. And I grew up in this little town in Alberta, Canada, after we moved from Norway. And it was, even though it was out in the middle of the flat prairies, just in the middle of nowhere, we had the Rocky Mountains about an hour and a half to the west. But we had the river that ran through the outside of town. And it was down in these little canyons that in Canada they call coulees. And we had lots of irrigation ditches around. It's big time farm country. Tabor, where I grew up, is known as the corn capital of Canada. And the corn is amazing. Every August they have Corn Fest, and it's gotten huge. We've been going the last few years. Unfortunately, the Airbnb we've been renting, I think they've rented it full time. So we're not sure we're going to go this year, but it's a lot of fun. Lots of concerts and car shows, and this town of like 9,000 people turns into 20 or 25,000 people for a couple of days. But I started reminiscing back on that time when I was listening to music today and thinking how lucky I was. Here's kind of a typical summer day. You're off of school. First of all, do y'all remember that feeling when you're in that age, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and it's the last day of school? And I don't know how you all had it, but when I was in grade school, especially, before I started up there, first grade to sixth grade was elementary school. Seventh, eighth, and ninth was junior high. 10th, 11th, 12th was high school. But before I started junior high, I can remember this so clearly. The last day of school before the summer break was almost always a track meet. And I love that. I love competition. I'm ultra competitive. I'm not a bad loser, but I like winning. And I'm very competitive in anything that I'm reasonably good at. Like, I love golf. Golfing with my boys, my sons, is one of my favorite things in the world. I used to be a pretty good racquetball player. Back in college, I actually, I was pretty good racquetball player. And so, but it doesn't matter what I'm playing, whether I'm playing poker or Uno or, some other card game. I want to win. That was my point there. Anyway, last day of school. And, we have the track meet. And I had a buddy, he passed away 3 or 4 years ago. Native American dude. I guess in Canada, I think they call them First Peoples now. I mean, back then, they called themselves Indians, different tribes. I had several friends from different tribes. When I say that, I don't mean it in any kind of a bad way. The language changes so much, it's tough to keep up with. And anyway, this dude was the purest natural athlete I have ever known in my life. And I was just always competing with him. I was just trying to keep up with him. And he was spectacular. I remember once, I grew up a soccer player. Coming from Norway, I played soccer pretty hardcore from like the age of 5 to 17. And I actually thought I was going to get a chance to try out for the Canadian junior team. And then I had a coach that kind of screwed me over, and I got pissed off and I quit, and I didn't play soccer ever competitively again, which kind of makes me sad. I'd like to have seen what I could have done, but these track meets, we had high jump and the long jump and the 100-yard race and all that kind of stuff. And it was so exciting because it was the last day of school and it was something fun. It wasn't sitting doing books. And then it was summer. And kind of a typical summer day would have been my buddies and I, you get up whenever we got up at that age. I don't remember. I know when I turned 16, I liked sleeping in, especially on the weekends, go out with my buddies, cruising up in Lethbridge, and then get home at 3 a.m. and sleep till 1 the next afternoon. But when we were kids, if you've ever seen the movie Stand By Me, I reference it all the time because that was my childhood. Those kids there, even though that's set in the 50s, that was basically the 70s where I lived. And we would, get on our bikes in the morning. Mom would make us breakfast, and sometimes she wouldn't. Sometimes we'd just have a bowl of cereal. And then we were gone. No cell phones, no way to keep track of us. They didn't know where we were, but we were just gone the whole day. And, we rode bikes a lot. But one of our favorite things to do, and I don't remember ever riding bikes to do this, probably because we had to carry inner tubes. We would hike out to an irrigation ditch. We had irrigation ditches all around town. I lived on the far north end of town, and the irrigation ditch we would walk to was across the highway, which was about a mile from my house, and then you had to walk another mile about to get to this irrigation ditch. So a couple of miles. We'd grab our tubes. I think we would carry like some sodas, or I don't think anybody had bottled water back there. I don't think that was a thing. If we did, if we had water, it would have been in a thermos. But we'd take a couple drinks with us and, some snacks, and we would hike out to those irrigation ditches. And if you ever grew up in farm country, irrigation ditches can be relatively small, a few feet across, but they can also be pretty big and be 25, 30, 40 feet across. And they have spillways in them. And we'd just kind of float down these irrigation ditches, and once in a while you go through a spillway or through a culvert pipe, which was big enough to fit through. The only time there was a kid that actually died from that, he got stuck in there because there was debris in there, but and I'm not making light of that. It was horrible. I knew the guy. He wasn't like a close friend, but he was close to my age, and it was horrible. But that didn't deter us. We would spend our summer days just floating and making up games. It's one of the things. I don't want to criticize modern society, because I am part of modern society too. But I see a lot less of kids just being out on their own and being able to go do things. If I'm in California right now, if somebody sees like a 7 and 9-year-old brother and sister walking, somebody's going to call the cops. That would have never happened when I was growing up. Never. That's just completely normal. And us kids would walk all the way out to these irrigation ditches. We'd spend hours out there floating, get fried. That's probably why I ended up getting a big chunk of my shoulder taken out, because I got burned so many times when I was a kid. We also, the river that ran out just outside of town, the Old Man River, that's what it was called. And man, we would go to, once we hit about 10, 11, 12 years old, we were allowed to just pack up a sleeping bag, a tent, 2, 3, 4, 5 buddies. We'd walk out there. That was probably, 45-minute walk maybe to get there. Somewhere around there. It was a couple miles. And we would camp by ourselves. And we had endless adventures. We would make driftwood cigars. We would, create games. There was this hill down there that had this path up it, trail up it. And it was pretty steep. You'd race to see who could get up there. You play King of the Castle. You throw each other off the hill. Just endless games. We came up with stuff constantly. I don't remember ever saying to my parents when I was a kid, "I'm bored, Mom, I'm bored." But I knew kids that did. And the parents did not put up with that. They're like, "Okay, I can find some work for you to do. Never mind, I'm not bored anymore." But it was very pleasant reminiscing back on those days. When we got older and could drive, then it opened up a whole new world for us. I got my driver's license. Well, I got my learner's permit at 14. And up there, you could drive with somebody as long as they were 17 or 18. You could drive during the day, I believe it was. And then at 16, the day I turned 16, I got in a big fight with my parents because I was going to go take my driver's license. I didn't have my own car yet. I borrowed their Grand Safari station wagon, this big beast of a car, 454, 4 barrel in it. And that's what I took my driver's license. They just caved to me. I was such a jackass to them. I just was threw a fit. I'm quite embarrassed about that moment, actually. Mom and Dad, if you ever see this video, I'm sorry. I bought my own car, I think the next week with my own money. I had a paper out when I was 12. Started working in my dad's welding shop not long after that, after school. He actually paid me pretty decent for the time. I saved up and bought a little mini bike of my own, like with a motor. I loved that thing so much. And it was this idyllic place to grow up. Even though, we had no scenery. It was just flat. Cornfields, potato fields, grain fields. That forever. Once you drove about 45 minutes west from us, you could see the Rocky Mountains, and they're amazing. And when we got old enough to drive, we would sometimes drive up there too, and it just opened the whole world to us. So yeah, I could not. Getting the driver's license was the ultimate freedom, and I love that I have these things that I can go back to in my mind. The mind's such a powerful thing, and it can lead you to good places or bad places. I talked about this a few videos ago, about, manifestation, positive thinking, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's very powerful, very powerful. You don't have to call it manifestation. You don't have to believe in, woo-woo crap. It's just the power of positive thinking. I do believe it was Stephen Covey. Sean Covey was his son, I believe, quarterback at BYU, that wrote that. But the power of I could have it wrong. Somebody, I mentioned the book the other day, Think and Grow Rich, and I was thinking that might be Stephen Covey, and somebody pointed out to me it was Napoleon Hill, which I actually knew. It just had faded out of me. There's so much in your brain. That's another thing. Does anybody else ever think this? So, I'm 62 years old, so I've lived well over 20,000 days. And of all of those days, there's just moments here and there that you really remember clearly. Now, every once in a while, something will happen. I was telling a story. It was one of my creepy stories from my Mormon mission. And I wasn't sure that I was remembering it right, or that it even had happened. And as I was telling the story, everything came back to me. So sometimes these memories come back, but I don't know what it would be like to have like a photographic memory or an eidetic memory and just be able to remember everything. It might be overwhelming, but it's also frustrating that I can think about things that I know were important days in my life where I just have little glimpses of it. And it's hard to remember. It's all in here somewhere. It's just a matter of accessing it. Anyway, just some random thoughts I was having today. I'm not going to get this video uploaded tonight. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed, but we'll leave it there. I appreciate y'all watching. I really appreciate, all the comments. The video I did yesterday is it's getting some interest and some comments that are good and bad, which I love all of it. Bad's not the right word. Not necessarily on the same page with me, and that's cool. We don't all have to agree to be friends. And for the most part, everybody's really respectful, and I appreciate it. I just got to address one comment. So I did another Mormon video yesterday, and I talked about, I left the Mormon church, but did the Mormon church leave me? If you're interested to go back, it's just a day ago. And somebody said, well, you talk about it every day, so obviously you haven't. Well, I don't talk about it every day, but, fair enough. I don't agree with you. I was talking about how things get ingrained in you, and they're hard to get rid of when you're raised a certain way and it's pounded into you. Even though I've left it, there's residual effects. And some of those are good effects, by the way. I have a lot of very pleasant memories of the church, and there's things I don't like. That doesn't, anyway, I don't need to get into all that again. Gonna end it here. Tack för en gång. Men snackas igen snart. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm sorry, I'm just laying in bed. I'm just sore and stiff, but I wanted to get a video done, so I will try to see if I can upload it on the hotel Wi-Fi. Highly unlikely, but it will show up in the next day or two. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, by the way, so hopefully in the next day or so it'll be up. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace. Love.